Hey, Kelly, welcome to the show.
Oh, hello, Jenny. It's so good to be here.
I'm very excited to have you on and to have a great conversation with you because you
Thank
are a
you.
good conversationalist. You are. So tell everyone, where are you talking to me from? Where are you right now?
Right now, I am on the eastern shore of Maryland. I live outside of Ocean City in the wonderful rural area of Bishopville, and
Hmm.
I love it here. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I never would have thought I would say that when I was 30 years old, but I do
Hmm.
appreciate a slower paced life after many years in big cities, and it's been a great place to raise my family and launch various businesses. So I'm very happy here. Thank you.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
I was a military kid, so I lived
Hmm.
in a lot of places, but mostly in southern states because my dad was a pilot in the Marine Corps. So
Mm.
I went to high school in Southern California, but I finished my last year of high school in Northern Virginia. So,
Hmm. How was that to move your senior year?
it was challenging, but I wanted to do it. My best friend, still my best friend's family, offered to keep me for my senior year, and my parents said I could stay. But even as a young 17-year-old, I knew the importance of family, and I really wanted to be and stay with my family. So it
Mm.
was challenging to be the new kid as a 17-year-old, but it was fine. And I think that my life as a military kid gave me the the tools and tenacity and the grit I needed for the rest of my life because I'm very
Hmm.
adaptable and
Hmm.
I like change. I thrive on change. So it was good.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I found that ability to move is a good skill to have, and it's not easy. I know some people, especially in military families, I mean, it's so much that they just starting over is just what you do on the regular. But I remember those times. Well, it was really just one time that I moved. It was between fifth and sixth grade, and I remember feeling like this massive upheaval, like, oh my god, I gotta start over, middle school, new kid. But that ability to really start fresh and say, okay, let's go. Like, this is who I am. I got to navigate this. I got to say, who are the players? How does this work? What's different? What's the same? And how do I really, it's almost an opportunity for reinvention.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
And
exciting.
every time I'm faced with that trepidation about doing something new, I remind myself, no, you have the skills to do this. You've done this 1,000 times as a kid, as a
Mm-hmm.
young adult.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those people that switched colleges after my first semester. I was one of those
Mm-hmm.
people that took a semester off a little bit later, went back,
Mm-hmm.
got it all done.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like nothing I've ever done has been normal. I never follow the normal path.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, normal's overrated. So what were you initially, like, your first career? You go to school and then you're getting out, you find your way in and out. What did you dive into first?
Um, in addition to being a military kid, I married a Marine, so our early years in marriage were in different places. But once we landed, I found myself in sales, inside sales with a computer distributor. And then
Mm-hmm.
in short order, I moved into marketing, spent
Mm-hmm.
many years in marketing in corporate America, up until the point I had my first daughter when I was in my early 30s. I was in the tech field, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
after that, it was time. It was time to do something different. So yeah, those
Mm-hmm.
first 10 years were sales and marketing, and eventually some
Sales and
human.
marketing, which comes in handy as a businesswoman, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's
Good
better
skills to
when,
have.
yeah, yeah, it's better. And I found from my own journey, it goes to a whole nother level, a whole nother stratosphere when you are selling and marketing stuff that you're really passionate about, that you really want to talk about. Like, when you know how to do it for stuff, you're like, it's fine, it's your job. You figure out, how to do it. But I don't know about you, Kelly. For me, my journey was a lot of that. Like, it was PR and marketing and kind of product development for various companies and brands. And when you're in your 20s, it's kind of, well, what else are you going to do? It's like you got all this time on your hands, and
Oh
it
yeah.
might not, for me, it's like I started changing and realizing the things that I was willing to do and then not willing to do. And if I didn't like it enough, over time, I realized then that wasn't okay. I had to be doing work that I really loved. So what for you, what motherhood was a catalyst moment for you to make a big change?
Yeah, it really was, because my job was all consuming, and I really struggled with trying to continue to give that 110% at work
Mm-hmm.
and be 100% mom at the same time. And it just,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't possible. I worked for a great boss at the time, and he and I worked out how I could work at home 2 days a week. We reduced my hours, but in the end, the workload was still the workload, no matter where I was working. So
Mm-hmm.
the good news for me is I've always had a passion for health and wellness. So even while I was doing regular 9 to 5 work, I was also involved in fitness and personal training, and taking care of people from a passionate standpoint. And I was able to parlay that passion into some part-time work as a stay-at-home mom, and eventually it moved on to other things. But yeah, it's very much in my nature to once something's run its course, I got to make a move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's an important thing to really note for our listeners, because I know there's people listening right now where something has run its course or you're very close, and that feeling of I've got to make a change, but it can feel very scary. And so how have you been able to do that? Like when it's time, but there may be that voice inside that says, but hold on, it's kind of good over here. What you don't even know what you're going to do next. Like how do you navigate that?
I just, looking back, Jenny, I just get that feeling
Mm-hmm.
inside of my being that I'm unsettled. You say this all the time, something won't leave you alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just start to look for affirmation from my inner circle, from I have a very strong relationship with God, so I seek affirmation there. Also from what I'm getting outside of that. And I would say I'm a little bit on the cautious side, in that I'm not real reckless when it comes to making a move. So sometimes I think it takes too long to finally jump, but I need to know that it's safe to do it, and all my ducks are in a row. So to answer your question, it's really just that inner knowing that it's time.
Yeah. All right. So I love.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's just knowing that you've given 100% to whatever it is, and you've gotten what you need out of that experience to go forward.
Yeah.
No matter
That's a great point.
Where I am,
you've gotten the thing out of it.
Yeah, wherever you are, it's a culmination of every experience you've ever had. Is where you are today. Now, how can you continue going forward?
Absolutely. I love that. All right. So you got into fitness and personal training. Like that is something that you were really passionate about. What was like in those early days of, being a mom? Was that what you were doing? You were a personal trainer? Like how did you walk that road of, hey, you obviously had worked, you were very successful, and now, 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, you have 3 daughters. I have 3 kids too, 2 boys and a girl. But okay, so these kids just keep on coming. And then you have your passions as Kelley, and you have work that you love to do. And so walk us through like how did you figure that all out?
I think it was just, again, looking for open doors. I taught group fitness classes. I had a handful of one-on-one clients. There was a move in there, and when we moved to where we are now, at the time I had 2 children, and quickly got into a partnership with a local gym owner, started to oversee his whole group fitness program. That was great because there was childcare. I could do it a few hours here, a few hours there. And then number 3 came along, and number 1 started to go to school, and eventually moved to a place where I had outgrown that type of work, and I wanted to do something bigger and bolder and impact more people. So my husband and I decided to open the first CrossFit affiliate on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia. And that was a great run. We did that all through our 40s and had an amazing business that just grew out of passion and love and impacted the entire community. And even though we sold the business 4+ years ago, the ripple effect is still underway, and it just makes me so proud to have been involved in that venture and had listened to my heart that was the right thing to do.
Had you been a CrossFit customer? Had you just heard about it? Like, how did you make that decision? Because are you essentially kind of I know it's an affiliate, so it's not really a franchise model. Like, I mean, how the model works, but how did you decide to just go in on that?
Well, it was the very early days of CrossFit. We were at the time the 98th affiliate in the whole wide world. Now there's multi-thousands of affiliates. CrossFit owners are not franchisees; they are affiliates. They have the ability to license the name.
Got it.
All CrossFit affiliates have gone through training, so the methodology is there to use. But really, you are able to run your business any way you want. My husband and I chose to run ours much more as like a wellness opportunity rather than just a straight up gym. Yes, we were rooted in physical training, but the heart of what we did was coaching, nutrition coaching, life coaching, preparing people for different events, whatever that might be, whether it was a physical event or a wedding or whatever life event they want. So we were one of the early ones to do that. I know that's very prevalent today, but this was 2008, a long time ago, and even earlier, where we started venturing into just the art of coaching.
Yeah, I love that, and it's again serving you well today. So you and I met after you had sold the CrossFit business, and I know this personal story of how you knew, but I want to give you the opportunity to share it with our listeners. I find it very profound. And again, I know there's someone out there who's going to tune into this and is going, that's exactly what I needed to hear to make a change, to turn the corner, take that fork in the road. So you grew this business. It was huge. You were very successful in all, senses of that word, but something fell off. Take us back to that time where you just couldn't keep going in the way you were going.
I'm currently 54. I was in my late, I won't say late 40s. It's probably like around 47. And my husband and I were having a conversation. We both kind of looked at each other. We had this great business, but we both looked at each other and said, you know what? When we get to be in our 50s, we don't want to be a gym owner. Because at the end of the day, we were responsible for a building. We were responsible for things like toilet paper and snow removal and just all the things that go into or owning a brick and mortar type business. Love the coaching aspect, but I didn't want to do that anymore. So we kind of agreed, okay, fine. So several years start to go along, and I'm thinking, like, how can I imagine my life without this business? And so it was a multi-year process, but planting that seed was instrumental in saying out loud to each other and being open to a potential buyer, which we eventually found. And it was in the summertime, and the new owner was ready to go. We had announced to our staff and to our member base what was happening. And so she and I were talking about the transition, and we had laid out a multi-month plan, but the actual day, the official day that she was going to become the owner and I was going to step back. Hadn't been clearly defined. So I just said, well, how about September 1st? It was very clean. And she said, okay, fine. But then as the meeting progressed, she said on more than one occasion, we can do this at any time. Like, here's your check and the paperwork's done. We can do this at any time. So I started to sense her enthusiasm and desire to make this her own. So I thought, who am I to get in her way if she wants to do this sooner than September 1st? And so I looked at her and I said, okay, well, what date do you want? And she said, let's do it August 21st. And I just smiled and laughed because that was God's way of affirming to me that we had done exactly what we were supposed to do in the timeline that he had laid out for us, because that was my 50th birthday. And so,
oh my gosh.
I had never really prayed God into my business like I did during those years. And it was a really cool, what's the word I want to say? A really cool experience for me. And a true transition in how I do business now, because when I invited God into that, it just became so much easier. And that experience there with that conversation just like put a big old bow on the experience to say, well done.
Yeah. That is such an awesome story. And if you guys are watching this on video, I have the light is like beaming on my face right now, which I look like I'm just you just can't even really see my face. It's like the light has come in, and I'm not going to complain about it because it's cold. And Kelley and I are talking the week after I've returned from the desert where I was super hot, and then I took my dog for a run today, and it was like. But it's a reframe, and then we're getting back on track. But you inspired this. I'm all about reframing these days, and this is a little tip for everyone. And so I was starting to run. I'm like, it's so cold. I go, no, I'm not even gonna say that anymore. I'm gonna say this is so refreshing. It's so refreshing. It's so invigorating. I'm so alive.
That's good, Jenny. That's
light
good.
On me. Isn't that good? And I shared something this week on Facebook. By the time this goes live, it will be a few weeks ago, but I want to say this too, and I know, Kelley, you'll appreciate it. Instead of my old me says, this is going to be hard. New me, like, old belief, this is going to be hard. New belief, this is going to be really fun. This is going to be really fun. And so these are the things, we can do. And I feel like, to your point, Kelley, I have a very deep relationship with God. Everyone tuning in, whatever it is for you, God is the universe, source, the great mother, spirit, the force, love. You use whatever word feels right to you, but the idea is you're not alone on this quest. And it does flow so much smoother, and you're going to have a lot more fun when you bring that relationship with your higher power into the game. Okay, because then you see just these fabulous forces at play, and you're going to laugh a lot more. I mean, you're still going to have those challenging moments, because that's just called being a human and also being an entrepreneur. But the things like you just shared, Kelley, August 21st, you're like, you can't even make that up. I mean, it's so it's so good. It's so good. Okay, so you knew it was time. You had to be honest and say, this is not what I want to be doing in my 50s. Like, I'm complete. I'm complete here. Okay, you admitted this. A buyer steps in. The deal is done. And then what did you really find for yourself as your next step? What is it that you wanted to do next and springboard from this, all your wonderful experiences, into the next thing?
Well, that was just it. I wanted to take the best of coaching and create a new way to deliver coaching that could be more impactful, that didn't keep me rooted in a building. And that's why I reached out to you, how to do this on the online. Thank you.
On the internet.
Yes, thank you. But I do still love the one-to-one, and I do still
Mm-hmm.
have clients locally, and I do things in person. So it
Mm-hmm.
just has given me freedom, Jenny,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it just was important. It just was important for me
Yeah. Yeah.
to take my skills and package them up differently.
Yes, that's it. Take your skills and package them up differently. Everyone take that in. If you are right now listening to this going, I don't like the way that I'm working. I don't like that I've got to show up at a building and be responsible for all the things. I don't like that I've got to be there Monday through Friday or on holidays and weekends. And if this thing breaks, I'm responsible for it. Like, and hey, if you like all that, great, because there's many opportunities for you to work in that way. But to Kelley's point, this is exactly what I experienced and why I found this path of coaching and why I'm still just doing backflips over the fact that this exists. Like this is a thing and that you can do it from home, or you can have an office outside of your home. You can work in person. You can work on the internet. You can have clients all over the world. And that's how you and I first met, Kelley. You came into one of my programs, Intuitive Power, right? I think that was kind of your first foray in. And then eventually you joined my mastermind, and I had a real amazing opportunity to see you, like to really see you rise, to see the way that you learn, to see the way that you process, to see the way that you are so powerful and so connected into what you're here to do. And you spoke it at my event. It was this past May, and it was, oh my gosh, I'll just never forget you standing up there and sharing your story and this message. And that's what I want to, spend some time on now is like what you are really fired up by, like in terms of how you work with women. And really, yes, you coach, but what is it that you're coaching women around? What issues are you helping them to solve?
Well, presently, I've taken everything that I've learned and up to this point, and I'm just compelled to influence and impact women around the idea of their female life cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and to encourage them, no matter
Mm-hmm.
where they are in their female life cycle,
Mm-hmm.
to embrace where they are and not
Mm-hmm.
wish they were somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
and to rise up and get unstuck, to
Mm-hmm.
learn to work with their bodies
Mm-hmm.
and really the season of life that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Through our work with Intuitive Power, you really tuned me into the beauty of this of the natural season, but also their applicability to us as women and to us as
Mm-hmm.
people in life.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last 2 years, I have really embraced those concepts, Jenny, and have
Mm-hmm.
just like inviting God into my business,
Mm-hmm.
inviting the flow of the seasons into how I do life has just been transformative. And I've been able to share that with the women that I work with, and they too
Mm-hmm.
are experiencing that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, what am I fired up about? I am
Mm-hmm.
fired up about women, again, thriving in the season of life that they're in, thriving in the decade of life that they're in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as a woman who fought getting older, I now get it when women talk about what happens when you round the corner in your 50s. There's just this amazing shift that happens. It's the same shift that happens when you first start having children, for those that are that choose to do that, or when women move through just the different cycles of life.
Mm-hmm.
And this uncovering of uncovering and connecting to the essence of who you are, who your soul says you are, and what have you been challenged and charged to do while you're here. Well, let's not get caught up in the discomfort of what's happening with our bodies physically, but learn to embrace what's happening, and then align that with your heart and your soul, so you can live full and become who you've been called to become, so you can do what you've been put here to do.
What happens for women when they really do this work with you, what do you see? What are some of those results? What are some of those kind of ahas or the transformation that you've witnessed?
Oh my gosh, there's just a falling away of false narratives and
Mm,
this realization that we all come fully equipped with everything we need inside. We
mhm,
just get bombarded throughout our life with what other people think we need or who they
mhm,
tell us we are, or we acquire labels that are false.
mm,
This peeling away of layers and lies, and just one aha moment after another that brings women back to themselves.
yes, yes, yes. I love you so much, Kelley.
Oh,
I just
thank you.
love I just love watching. Yeah, the light is, I'm in it right now. I'm just in this light. And I feel like it's profound. It's this poignant moment. When I get to witness, we've been doing these episodes lately with my clients and, women who I've personally coached and just witnessed. Like when we can bear witness to each other, because that's really what we're talking about. It's like you're bearing witness to your clients. I'm bearing witness to you and to my clients. And I'm just watching as you are watching them, as you said, peel away the layers and the lies. I mean, this can be applied to so many different categories, whether it's your body, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your business, whether it's, your connection to what you think you need to be as a mother, as a whatever. And I mean, that if we all as women would commit to that, to commit to
Mhm.
facilitating that, holding space for that, and then doing that for ourselves, like what might happen in this world, like that, if we can just feel into that now as we're on the cusp of this new decade, gosh, what kind of conversations might we be having 10 years from now? That's the stuff that gets me really
Yeah.
freaking fired up. So I
Yeah.
know that you have an awesome Facebook group where these are the kinds of conversations that you're having. Do you want to share more now how people can seek you out, if they're feeling the call based on, what you shared here, they're in that kind of life change, they're in that part of their time going, you know what, like my body is not the same as it was a few years back. And I want to honor that. And I want to get support as I navigate this rite of passage, but it also can feel quite, lonely and maybe weird. How can they find you, Kelley?
Oh, absolutely. So I put together a wonderful community of women on Facebook just about a year ago, and the group is called Shift, SHIFT, and it honors what I call the transition years from about 38 to 50 and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another season of life
Mm-hmm.
where things just start to get weird. And I find it's a very lonely period of time because many women
Mm-hmm.
are controlling. They want to
Mm-hmm.
control.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't always control everything. So the group is there for support. We cover all topics from
Mm-hmm.
hormonal changes to what happens mentally, spiritually, from the heart, physically, what's happening in the desire to maybe change a job or a
Mm-hmm.
career shift or a relationship shift. So all of these shifts that take place, we're going to take a look at them and navigate them together.
Perfect. Okay, so they can just search for Shift on Facebook and they'll find
Yes.
this group.
Yes.
All right, perfect. And we're gonna we'll link it up on our show notes page
Thank you.
too. So you can go to jennyfenwick.com and just search for Kelley. That's Kelley. This episode will come up and you'll see all that stuff. You all should hop in there. Kelley knows her stuff. She's a powerhouse with so much love and passion for the work, and she shows up for the work. Oh, and P.S. You all can be thinking about Kelley and I in January when we are in Costa Rica. How excited are you, Kelley, for this trip?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I booked my air. I reached out to the resort. I got my book into my trip with an extra day on both sides, and
Good.
I cannot wait to be in the company of you and the other mastermind attendees and just bring in the new year.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we're at this leading a retreat in Costa, y'all. It's called the Women Who Dare Retreat. And a lot of my mastermind clients are going to be there, and just other women who I know are incredible are going to be circling up. And so that's just something I want to share with all our listeners. Make sure you have those things that you're going to be doing in this new year. It's essential. It's not like, oh, wouldn't that be nice? Like, no, you've got to do it. You just have to. If you're really committed to growing this body of work, if you're committed to helping more people and to feeling better in your own body and to feeling more connected in your own relationships, Kelley, what I've found is that anytime I work quote on my business, it powerfully and positively impacts other areas of my life, my marriage, the way I mother, how I look at my community, my home, and then of course the business implications are huge. So I just want to salute you for, seeing the value not only in doing various, programs with me, but seeing this opportunity to go to paradise and to do the deep work. And to be real, y'all, the deep work, there's some hard stuff that comes up too. And you can feel almost like if you're the only one who goes, you're like, oh my gosh, no one in my family ever was an entrepreneur, or no one, or especially when we were talking about this, another one of my programs, Kelley is also in Magic Makers. And, I recently did that work where, and I want my listeners to take this in, that it's so important to look at where you might be the first or the only. Like, there was no other woman in my family who was an entrepreneur that I know of, and you can kind of look back and go, yeah, I didn't have an example of that, or maybe I'm the only in this thing of my friend group or the people I went to school with, and just to recognize that, because you will probably have these feelings where you might feel a little unsafe, or is this allowed? And it helps you with simply working through those feelings, working through the sensations. The sensations are normal. Your ability to navigate those sensations will predict your success. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Kelley. So I want to know, you are one gutsy woman. A theme of this show has been for me to ask my guest about your gutsiest move. So I want to know, Kelley, what is the gutsiest move you've made, and how does it inspire your life and work today?
I think the gutsiest move I ever made was saying yes to the crazy idea of starting CrossFit Ocean City.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is because my husband and I started that business without a business plan, without a bunch of money. I mean, we just said yes. We said we're going to do this thing, and it ended up being one of the most amazing rides of my life. And I am who I am as a result of that experience. And if we had been pensive or hesitant and just said, no, we're not going to do that because we don't know what we're doing, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'd have to say that.
I love that. Love that. And thanks for sharing that too about, we had no business plan. It wasn't like we had this bucket of money to be like, oh wait, we'll just, invest all that cash and marketing it and getting it off the ground. You'd never owned a CrossFit before, and you didn't own it. I mean, you had been involved in like looking at somebody else's fitness business and helping to run those group classes, but this is new, and this is such an important thing for us all to keep in mind. I mean, it was the same thing when I started my coaching business. It was like, I had no business plan. I didn't have no boatload of money. It was just the desire was there.
I'm gonna figure it out.
That's just it, because you will. You're smart. You're resourceful. You can figure it out, and you did. And you just said it was the ride of your life. And I know that so much of that because you and I have a relationship, that those people love you, and many of them have come in to work with you in your new iteration, and so it's just such wonderful. Anything like that, when you have those downloads, those hits. Obviously, you want to do some due diligence, okay, but don't let the fact that you don't have the business plan, you maybe haven't been in this business before, or the fact that you don't have boatloads of money hold you back. It's the call is there, and I know Kelley and I really have that deep connection with our own higher power. You just trust that. You trust it, because everything's gonna lead you someplace else. Doesn't mean you have to do it for the rest of your life. You didn't do it for the rest of your life, but you did it for a nice piece of it.
Right, right. And one of the things that I just popped into my mind that I just want to share is because yes, my husband and I did this together. He had another full-time job at the time. And at the time it was mostly men that owned CrossFit affiliates. So I reached out to 4 of the female owners that I knew, and we quickly gathered together remotely because we were all over the country and formed our own mastermind.
Great.
And held each other accountable. We created a space to work through issues that we didn't know the answers to. And that was my first experience with a mastermind, and there was so much value in that. And again, I had never been in a mastermind, but I figured it out. I created it. I did all research. I created the parameters, how we could work together from all over the country, and it worked.
So it worked because you were willing to work it, and you were willing to say, you know what, let me reach out to these women and see if they're interested in us supporting each other. And like, that's what I love about you. Just go for it. You know, anytime you have an idea for I'm just going to put this out there, and then I'll put this out there, and I'll put that out there. And, you know, that's why I wanted to have you on the show. I'm featuring women who I've worked with, who I just see their talent. I see their willingness to show up for the work. I see their willingness to, you know, keep taking that next step. And, you know, you've just done an incredible job, Kelley, of springboarding from this thing to that thing. And I know what an impact you're making with your women who really are looking for this level of support and finding that own, you know, fitness for the soul, like that inside out approach to feeling better in their body and being excited about the next chapter of life. It's like, I feel like so much of what you do is that we don't have to complain about getting older. I remember at some point I hear people complain. I'm like, why? And you were gifted with another year. That's like the greatest gift ever. Can't we?
Yes.
If we're not feeling good in our body, that sucks. But that's what you help women do, is to feel better in their body and in all the other areas that's connected to our health and wellness. So thank you for your work, Kelley.
Thank you, Jenny.
It's been awesome having Kelley here. Everyone, please join me in thanking her for showing up and doing what she's called here to do. That is my wish for every single one of you tuning in. It's been an incredible journey here on this podcast and putting these episodes out for you. I know that you are receiving this with an open heart, and may it serve you today to make a gutsy, brave, magical move in your work. Much love, and we'll talk soon.